Britain's lost main line. You might be thinking, how do you lose a main line? I'll explain how and so much more in this documentary about Britain's long lost main line, the Great Central Mainline. The Great Central Mainline ran from London to Manchester and Sheffield. The Woodhead Line. The Woodhead Line, also known as the Manchester, Sheffield and Worcester Railway, MSWNR, was opened in 1845 as far as Brighouse. The line was subsequently extended to Sheffield Victoria in 1851. This was the precursor to the Great Central Railway. In 1864, Sir Edward Watkin became director of the MSWR. The London Extension. The London Extension all stemmed from the fact in the 1870s Sir Edward Watkin didn't like handing over the lucrative London traffic to the rivals. The Great Central Mainline was the first railway to be built to the larger European structure gauge, which would make it easier to convert the line to the larger European loading gauge by moving the tracks further away from the platform. Hence, the majority of the stations were built with island platforms. During the construction of the London Extension, there was doubt that there would be enough traffic for the line. Sir Edward Watkin argued there would be a growth in demand from the opening of the railway, which we would now call induced demand. The London Extension was built between Annerley and London Marylebone. The line was built with one level crossing at Belton, and whereas most stations being built with island platforms and a rolling gauge of 1 in 76. Passenger services started on the 15th of March 1899, with freight traffic following on the 11th of April. In 1906, the Great Central Railway built a joint line via High Wycombe to avoid the Great Metropolitan Railway after falling out with them. The Big Four. Routing. On the 1st of January 1923, the Great Central Railway became part of the London North Eastern Railway (LNER), and that's what they are then referred to as the Great Central Mainline. The LNER Great Central Mainline rivals the London Midland Scottish Railway Midlands Mainline, which runs from London St Pancras to Nottingham. In 1936, the LNER started an electrification scheme on the Great Central Mainline Woodhead section with 1500 volt DC overlay. This was the national standard voltage until the 1960s for railway electrification, in a similar principle to continental Europe. This electrification scheme was to deal with the steep grades across the Pennines and resulted in a new Woodhead tunnel designed for electric traction. In the 1947 allowed freight traffic were normally limited to 25 miles per hour up to 16 miles per hour due to the improved standards of the Great Central Mainline, including shallower grades between Annerley and Woodhouse, some 110 miles or 177 kilometres. In addition, the limited number of passenger services on the route. Nationalisation. On the 1st of January 1948, the Great Central Mainline became part of British Railways. The 1500 volt DC relay system wasn't energised until 1955 by British Rail, with a fleet of 2 locos for the Class 676 electric mixed traffic loco 1 and Class 77 electric mixed traffic 2, which were built between 1950 and 1954 at Gorton Works. A new depot at Reddish was opened in 1954 for the electric locos and units. In 1968, British Rail drew the Class 77 electric mixed traffic locos rather than scrapping them due to their young age and sold them to the Netherlands to become NS 1500 class. Managed decline and death. From the late 1950s, freight traffic which the line relied on started to falter away, despite it being designed for high speed. It was designed by British Rail London Midland region. It was a duplicate of the Midland Mainline line, who took over from the Eastern region in 1958. In January 1960, The London Marylebone to Manchester services were withdrawn, leaving only a few limited stop expresses between London Marylebone and Nottingham Victoria today. In 1967, the majority of the Great Central Mainline was closed off with rail between Nottingham, Arwick Street and Rugby Central. The final regular passenger service between Hadfield and Sheffield Victoria was withdrawn on the 5th of January 1970. The last part of the Great Central Mainline to close was the Woodhead line between Hadfield and Sheffield via Penistone in 1981. With Birth and Revival, Network's Southeast Division of British Rail considered closing the remaining southern part of the Great Central Mainline. However, instead of doing this, they invested in the Class 165 network of turbo diesel multiple units, along with line-speed enhancements. This saw unprecedented growth to the point where only a few years after the 39-strong fleet of Class 165 turbos were introduced, they needed to introduce a 28-strong fleet of Class 168 Clubmans, along with restored local hauled trains and additional platforms at London Marylebone, which were added as part of the Chiltern Evergreen programme of work. In 1991, it was proposed to reopen the Great Central Mainline as a freight line built to the European loading gauge as part of the Channel Tunnel project. This would have seen the line fully reopened as with stations at Downtree and Brackley. Chiltern Railway has long-term goals of reopening the Great Central Mainline between Aylesbury and Rugby, with the first stage which was opened on the 14th of December 2014 between Aylesbury and Aylesbury Vale Parkway. In 2012, the Nottingham Express Transit made use of the former alignment of the Great Central Mainline between Waddington Lane Tramstop and Wilford Lane Tramstop. In 2017, the 12-mile section of the Great Central Mainline was announced to the reopened part of the HST hybrid bill with curve easing to allow for the 400km design speed. Heritage Railway comeback. A group of railway enthusiasts decided they couldn't let all the HS Mainline die, and so created two Heritage Railway groups: the Heritage Railway, the Great Central Railway, and the Great Central Railway Nottingham. In the late 1960s, the local groups who opposed the closure of the railway gathered together for a series of meetings at Leicester Central Station. As well as these meetings, the Mainline Preservation Group, MLG2, was formed, with the original goal of restoring the full mainline between Nottingham and Ardwick Street and Rugby Central. The MLG2 realised that this might be too much, and so they narrowed down the section to Leicester to Waddington. In 1970, they managed to acquire Leicester Central, and the following year they managed to acquire the full line between Leicester Central and Leicester for £75,000. In 1973, they held their first open day. In 1974, they began operations on the up line, while British Rail was left in the down line with industrial tank engines. In 1976, the MLG2 became the Great Central Railway, with the goal of operating services and buying the track off British Rail. Charnwood Borough Council decided to buy the track bed off British Rail, and leased it to the Great Central Railway for 99 years. In 1980, they announced plans to reopen the line to Belgrade and Bristol. However, the former station was vandalised beyond repair, and so was demolished and replaced by a steam station located 100 metres south, which was located at the downview of Leicester and became Leicester North Station, which opened in 1990 at the same time as the Great Central Railway. Nottingham purchased the line between Loughborough and Waddington off British Railways. It required a Transport and Works Act order, which resulted in local residents believing the line was shut. In the 1990s, David Clark became president of the Great Central Railway and started a programme of double tracking line between Rothley and Loughborough Central, with the first section being between Rothley and Corn. On the 1st of June 2000, the double track was extended to Leicester Central. This has allowed the Great Central Railway to offset passenger services up to 45 miles per hour rather than the usual 25 limit, which allows passing speeds of 90 miles an hour. Great Central Railway in 2006 originally planned to restore the Muscle branch as a coach coach storyteller, another heritage group encouraged them to restore it as a drawn sign. By 2013, the line was opened with additional stations at Notting Hill and Mount Sorrel. In February 2009, the Great Central Railway and Great Central Railway Nottingham started work on reunification of the two railways to create an 18-mile heritage railway. So far, they have installed a new bridge at Leicester, which is owned by Network Rail for insurance purposes, as well as a restored canal bridge and rebuilt bridge by the Thrust Works. I hope you have enjoyed this video about the Great Central Mainline. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share and subscribe to the Trainspotting from Berkshire.